Monty, that background you have is so super cool. That's so
Wow.
cool. So what happens to me is I just don't have enough hair. So when I do the background thing, it removes my last few remaining friends. So let's rock and roll. My name is Isaac, co-founder of Abound, together here with Monty, who will be presenting in a moment. This is our 100 and I believe 22nd episode. Replays are on our website and YouTube. So if you missed them, go back there and do the replay. But obviously live is better because you get to be famous. Your faces are here. So there you go. We are today going to be talking about something that I have for years really needed help with. And that is creating content. In fact, I needed help with it so much that I had to merge businesses with Monty because I just suck at it so bad. Like, you know, I'll hear for years, you know, Monty's like, you got to do content. And I go to write something. I'm just like, I'll reach into the bottom of my soul and pull out like one tiny sentence. Maybe it's good. That's not enough. And so we merge businesses. This is Monty's wheelhouse all the way. So I'm really excited. No pressure, Monty, but please, today is your opportunity to change the world, as we put the pressure on Judy a couple weeks back. Change the world, Monty. I'll let you take it from here.
Well, we'll see what we can do. That's a very nice intro, Isaac. I really appreciate it. Going to share my screen with everybody. So just give me a thumbs up. Make sure everybody's seeing it. And the window. Okay. So content is one of those things that for some people comes just extremely easy. And as Isaac said, for some people, it's just like, gosh, what in the heck do I say? Social media, where do I post it? What do I post? So on and so forth. So what I've done today is decide I'm going to come up with 10 of my own rules, if you would, that I use for content. I'll share that with you. And then I'm going to show you a couple of kind of tips, if you would. I'm going to bear with me while I move my Zoom share deal out of the way. Okay. Excuse me. I'm going to share a couple of tips of how you can find super, super easy content and tons of it. So forgive me if my LinkedIn chat bell keeps ringing. Hopefully you guys can't hear that, but maybe it does. Okay. So rule number one, stick with what you know. Okay. Focus on your niche and the things that you things you can stand before an audience and just deliver that speech for 30 minutes with no notes at all. So this is stuff that you just can roll right off your tongue, and it's easy to do. Okay. So that's first and foremost. If you want to create content, just stick with what you know. Don't try and do a bunch of research. Rule number two, combine your work with personal, especially on LinkedIn. And you know, we deal mostly with LinkedIn. Pretty much everybody's here because of LinkedIn. So what we tell clients is focus 75% of your effort around your work-related stuff, things that you know really well, then make 25% of it personal. Okay, this is who I am. You want to create likability. So it doesn't have to be stories about your kids, unless it's business related. It doesn't have to be your animals. Kittens do fantastic, actually, on LinkedIn, but everybody is annoyed by it too. So make it personal about you as it relates to something that people can relate with. Okay, so that's my second rule. Rule number three, one post per day is not as many as it seems. Here's the breakdown. Okay, so if you take 75% around your niche, 25% around yourself, if you're going to post one day a week, if you're going to post once a day, we'll get it right. That's 4 posts that's around your business and the things that you know really well around your niche. It's 1 post that's personal. So it's only 25 posts a month combined. So we can do all of these all at once if you take that methodology and if you just break it down into bite sizes. Rule number 4, there's no new questions. There's tons of them out there. And I'll show you how to find these. People ask a lot of questions. All you have to do is answer those questions. Number 5, everyone has an opinion, so don't be afraid to share yours. So whatever the topic is, again, within your niche, within your work, share your opinion on it. If you're going to curate content, don't just share articles and stuff like that with nothing that you say. Make it your own. Share your opinion, share your thoughts about what the content is. And then use the call to action of, this is my opinion, what's yours? Okay, because you want to get people talking. The key with content is to drive engagement, not just simply to post content. Number 6, people love lists. So if you find the top 5 ways to do something, 5, 10 ways to do anything, and then change it up, make it a top 5 list. There's all different kind of creative things that you can do with list building, and to present the information, again, that you know really well. Rule number 7, keep a file of your ideas. Throughout the day, whenever I'm going through LinkedIn or through other social channels, I'm always coming up with ideas that I could post. Oh, that'd be a great post. Or I have an opinion about something that I see that would make a great post. I will forget that 5 minutes later. So what I do is I use my cell phone. I use the notes on my cell phone, and I'll just do a verbal, I'll just, voice to chat type deal, and just keep a log of that idea. I can always come back to that idea, and I've got tons of them listed on my phone. Rule number 8, always start with a hook. Okay, so the hook is basically the first line of your post, and it's the most important component of your post. Next would be your call to action, but the hook is like the cover of a book. If you're in what used to be bookstores, right? And you're just filing through and you're reading through, it's going to be the thumb stopper. It's the thing that makes people stop on your post. That first sentence is the most important sentence of your entire post. So it needs to be engaging, but it's also a great way to create content. If you just think in terms of hook all the time, as you're looking at different stories, as you're hearing what people are saying, when you're out on social media, pretty much the thing that I keep for my ideas that I log on my phone all the time are just nothing but hooks. It's questions I ask, it's statements I want to make, and I'm always refining those to, okay, what will somebody want to engage in, and what will they want to see here? Rule number 9, don't forget the hashtags. Hashtags are super important in social media. On LinkedIn, you want to use 5. You don't have to use any more than 5, but you want those to be good hashtags. And I'll show you a resource. I'll provide a resource for you for that. Rule number 10, Google it. Okay, let the content come to you. So I'm going to show you how that works. I want to walk you through a quick demonstration of that and how I go about doing that. If you just go to the Google search page, okay, and I've just typed in programming to start with. If you notice, Google likes to try and answer what you're going to search for all the time. So if I if my interest is programming, that's my niche, I'm going to start looking through this. And is there anything that I can click on that's of something of interest? If there's not, I'm going to put a space. I'm going to type A. They're going to try and answer it for me again. Is there anything in that list that's of interest to me? Programming a garage door opener. Maybe. Who knows? If I don't see anything there, I'll B. Programming books. Programming basics. Ooh, maybe programming basics would be a good one. Now, if you don't see anything, you just keep going. A, B, C, D. Then if you find another word like this, programming basics, I can do the exact same thing if I don't see that up here, do A. All right, so you can see how the rabbit trail works. You can just do this an infinite amount of times. but let's stick with programming basics. Now, one of the things that is great about Google, you can see what people are posting here. Back to lists, 5 basic coding concepts. Okay, so that's an idea. If there's 5, maybe there's 6. Maybe there's 10. Maybe there's a top 3. So you can go create content from that. 5 fundamental coding concepts. There you go. Maybe there's 3 coding. Maybe there's a top 3. Right, but here is where the real gold is to this process. And it's the people also ask. Okay, so everybody, they will give you questions. If you click on these, oh, look, a 14-step roadmap for beginning developers. Maybe there's a top 3 list in there, or 5 most important steps. Those are all posts. Once you click on one, they're going to give you more. All right, what are the 5 basic concept program? Can I learn coding on my own? All of these lead to posts. Okay, and by the way, if you're wanting to make content for your web pages that's going to rank from an SEO standpoint, this is also the process in which you can do that. Because you can find keywords, you can find long tail key phrases, and so on and so forth. But these are all of the things that people actually search. Can Elon Musk code? It might make a great post. I don't know, right? You can read it. And if it does read, you can either curate that post, use it as a link on LinkedIn, making sure that you add your own hook and your own thoughts to it. But you can very quickly go into an infinite amount of content just by answering people's questions. Okay, so what I do is I create a spreadsheet and I'll put categories of things that I'll build out as many categories as I want. This one has 14. And I'll add the categories of content that I want to deal with. And then this is top 50 keywords by volume, but I'll go through that whole process and I'll add these questions and stuff like that to my spreadsheet. Then I will build out my titles and my hooks. So anytime I have an idea and stuff, if I'm putting it on my phone, I'll drop that down on this spreadsheet. Now you can see in this one, and I haven't been to it for a while, but I have 46 posts right there. So if you spend an hour just doing this very basic process, you'll have about 3 months worth of content guaranteed. And if you go through that and you drop it in a spreadsheet like this, then you can very easily come back to it. And oftentimes what we need is really just the start and the idea, right? Because writing it out really doesn't typically tend to be a problem once you have the idea. So now I've got 46 ideas. If I spent an hour doing that with Google, I could have an infinite number more. And now I've got content for days. So then if you go back to my rule of take 75%, 25%, if I only have to write 4 a week now, that's 20 a month. I've got 2 months sitting right here. Okay. Then in hashtags, and we have a resource that we'd be happy to give to you guys. Connect with us, message us, and be happy to give you our hashtag research. What I do is by your industry, right? You need to go and do some research on hashtags on LinkedIn. All you can do is in the search bar, click the hashtag or go into your niche. Let's say it's marketing. Go take a look at people's posts and see what hashtags they're using. Okay, and then you can search that hashtag and LinkedIn will tell you how many followers it has. Now, we've developed like the top, I don't know, 500 or something like that hashtags on LinkedIn. And what we do is it's on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. So if you want that resource, I'm happy to send it over to you. But if you're going to go with 5, you want to pick the ones that have at least 1 million. So unless you're very, very niched and you only have access to a very specific hashtag, then you'll want to use that niche hashtag. But typically the more general terms like economy, entrepreneurship, future, those are going to be your super high volume hashtags. The more niched you get, the less they're going to have. So I'm going to stop share, and I'd love to hear from our panels some additional ideas that you guys have in how you build content.
Well, can I jump in real quick, Monty?
Yes.
These are all great ideas. I mean, I think I have to say that the sanity saver for me has been batching. And like you said, you have sort of a theme maybe on a monthly basis. But I mean, if I don't batch the last day or 2 days of the month for the following month, so I have an overall theme, I'm like a squirrel. I mean, I can get lost. And so that way I can kind of organize my thoughts a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then regarding the hashtags, I've seen a few folks do the hashtag at the end, always at the end of their post, they'll do hashtag PS, hashtag follow that particular hashtag. Mine's like LawBizBit, but you have one that's unique to you or your business.
Yep.
And then you describe obviously what the value or why they should follow that. But that's sort of a standard, a few spaces down from their post. And then third, with the lists, the listicles, as we call them, the thing about those lists can also be shout outs. It can be lists like sometimes I create of lawyers that I work with that I really admire for their content or their boldness or creativity. I'll do a shout out, once a week or so of 2 or 3 really great attorneys, giving value, showing other attorneys or other professionals how to be creative and bold and sort of step out of the expected mold. And so those lists can be shout outs as well. That's something I've made use of.
Yeah, great. The vanity hashtags, I also recommend that. That's, hashtag Monty Clark. I put that on all my posts. That way, if you use that hashtag, all my content comes up for you in the feed. So
everyone should have a personal hashtag. Makes it easy to find your content, number one.
Right.
Can I wanted to share something. I don't know if my hand up.
Jump in.
Hey,
well, Judy, you're a panelist. That means you can just chime in.
I hate to be rude. I'm a New Yorker.
During
New Yorkers
panelist
are
time.
rude.
New Yorkers are not polite. You're good.
Like if I don't chime in, a couple of things I wanted to share. What's his name? Richard Vanderblom, whatever his name is. Shared this recent post. It was really cool, and I printed it and put it on my wall. Just look him up, and you'll see it in his feed. But it's the 5 pillars of a LinkedIn content strategy, and I thought it was really good because piggybacking on what you said, there's a lot out there and it's just really organizing it. And when I started to blot out the 5 pillars, I came up with all these different ideas. But if it's okay, I was going to put a link because I'm not doing self-promo, but I put together a 36 ideas in a carousel on content, like how to get content ideas, like what you said, probably the same thing, nothing new there. But I have to tell you, on one of my clients, we were going to launch a podcast and it was like, too much work. So I said, let me see what's out there. What is it? 10 podcasts. Turns out there were like 30 podcasts in the supply chain industry. I just updated that list. There's now 60, and that is the 2nd or 3rd most popular content on their website. So it's interesting when you create something that really resonates. So apparently we own the list now because people are saying, how do I get on the list? So it is really interesting. Like if you do the work and you curate, people do like news of the week. They could do, top, shout outs to influencers. I mean, I don't know, whatever. But if you take the time to curate that content and then offer it to the audience, assuming that you know who your audience is and assuming that it's going to be relevant to them, that can really go a long way. So I'll go ahead and share this link here. And do y'all know how to download a PDF on LinkedIn? Y'all know how to do that? There's like a little weird 4 shaped square thing in the bottom corner. If you click on that, that'll allow you to download it. So happy to share that. And that's my story.
Thanks, Judy.
Can I share something on hashtags? There's Monty. I'm looking for your face on my screen.
Go ahead.
Good morning. Good morning. So the hashtag, how many you're supposed to use, right? It was 3, then it was 5, then it was 7, then it was 9. I just want to let you know that my contact at LinkedIn, we had a chat, I don't know, a month ago, and she said 3 hashtags. So I'm just letting you know what the person, my content manager said in the creator program. She said 3 hashtags and they should be vague, right? So you don't want to use, you know, because if I were to only use my personal hashtags, nobody would find me. But so I try to stay at 3. Sometimes I'm like, no, I need 1 more. It always has to be relevant to your content, but I just want to share what I'm hearing from LinkedIn. So I've gone down from 5, went from 5 down to the 3. So that's my info that I have on hashtags.
There always
My other
seems to be
thing, yeah.
There always seems to be a debate about hashtags and how many to use. On company pages, they give you 5.
I know.
And so, and then on personal, it doesn't make any sense that they would allow 5 on company pages and 3 on personal posts. And I have had many times where I put 5 and they say, oh, it goes in order. It's your first 3 that they'll use. But yet the 5th hashtag will show up in the feed.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, it's, I don't even know that LinkedIn let people at LinkedIn know.
Yeah, well, and I was
just
talking like on at least personal, you know, the company page might be different, but I just, you know, right, wrong, unicorn, I don't know. I just always like to share what I'm hearing from my manager so we can all be educated, because we know that LinkedIn doesn't have a nice policy book. You know, that they share, hey, here's the new features and here's how best to use them. Regarding content creation, great idea, Monty. I'm with you. When I get an idea, I write it down. I use Airtable because I'm that visual person. So I need I like it to look all pretty and color coded, like blog ideas, LinkedIn tips, you know, so Airtable's free. If you guys want to check that out. I'm not a proponent of Excel sheets, but that's just me. So I like Airtable. I like write down your ideas right when you think of them. Even if you pick up your phone, I use the voice memo all the time on my phone. There's a reminder on my phone today that says, listen to voice memo for blog. The other thing with content is repurpose it. We think that we have to come up, you know, we do 1 piece of content. So with my weekly videos, that becomes like 4 pieces of content. Right. So it's your blog, it's micro videos, it's a social post, it's a tip list. So if anybody here does a live show, that's 10 pieces of content minimum. And you kind of have a theme, as Viveka was saying, right? Like, what's my theme for the month? Am I talking about LinkedIn profiles? You know, am I talking about strategy? Is it marketing? So having a theme for the month totally makes it easier to come up with your content. Repurposing the heck. If you have a website and you have a blog, turn that blog into different pieces of content. You don't want to copy and paste it onto an article on LinkedIn because the Google gods don't like that. But you can take snippets of it and you can make it a post and add a visual, or you can make a list. Listicles are great. Be creative with your content. Don't always have it be text. Do carousels, photos, micro videos. So audio, you know, if anyone here has a podcast, take those audio snippets and tease your audience and get more people to jump on your podcast. So,
hey, Mary, when you were talking about hashtags and you said vague, do you mean vague as a non-personal, but simply general enough, but still related to your industry?
General. I think what she meant was general. Again, wait, are you you're in the creator program, aren't you?
I am. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you have the same manager as I do? Yeah.
I don't know. Is her name Miss Wonderful?
Just a thing about that, you know, with LinkedIn, and I'll just throw it out there, being a LinkedIn trainer and all, most of those people are from a different generation that I am from. Okay.
100%, Judy.
And what I would think about, it goes back to your audience. How does your audience use LinkedIn? Most of the people I'm dealing with are like not great adopters. They're in financial services and they just have a profile. They don't know how to use it. So do they even use hashtags? I don't know, but I do think hashtags are valuable. Say you go to a conference. Fantastic. And Mary, you posted something about, you know, SMW 22. And it's like, yeah, man, I'm going to be there. So it's a great way to find things. The other thing too is It's a great way to organize, but for the most part, people don't use hashtags on LinkedIn like they do on Twitter or
Right.
Instagram. So
I
I would
agree.
say don't get carried away with the hashtags, because people are like, oh, the hashtags. It's like, focus on your content and really focus on, again, knowing who your audience is and how they're going to respond to it. Because I
I
think
agree, Judy, 100%. It's the
like-
The
content. And
hashtag, yeah, but I will say the hashtags do make a difference. They
It depends on the audience.
absolutely make a difference if
depends on
you
your
have
network.
hashtags or no hashtags.
It depends on the
Yeah.
audience. It really depends on who the people are. But I love it to find information. When I'm looking for things, I will put in like an industry hashtag. So it's whatever the
Yeah.
vertical is. I'll put in maybe a brand hashtag. And then I love it when it's like polls or, audio. Like now you can find
LinkedIn audio events.
Yep. So
You got to have that. You guys know you have to have that in your title for it to be searchable.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the other content ideas, and again, what we're presenting here is not exhaustive, obviously. Another great way to use content or to develop content is to use past content, because on social media, the stuff only lives a very short amount of time. So you can actually go back 2 months ago to 3 months ago to content that you've already done, see what performed well, rewrite it, just add a little bit to it or change that up a little bit and repost it. Now, a single person will remember that you wrote it, and it's still equally as effective, especially if you're using, and it's fun to A/B split test them, if you would, to find ones that you posted 2 months ago that did really well, then repost it, changing it up a little bit and see if it performs equally as well after you redo it a little bit.
I'd like to speak too about what I think is really an underutilized resource for getting ideas for content, and that's your sales team.
Yep.
And so like me, my wheelhouse for the last many years has been like in the sales SD BDR side of things. I'm not a content creator, but I know all of the questions that get asked. And so if you work in a company where those two are maybe two different roles, or maybe you play two roles, whatever questions get brought up in sales conversations, whatever objections, whatever buttons that get pushed and people are like, oh, I get it now. Excuse me. Those are fantastic, powerful inspirations for whatever you want to say socially. And I'll also say this, if you work at a larger company, sales folks are usually not chatty social content people. Like, we're here to get the job done. Like, we want to be polite and respectful, but a lot of salespeople are just not creative writers. It's almost like just a different personality, usually, not always, but usually. And so that's me. Like I said, I can reach down and I'll get 1-2 sentences after really thinking about it. So what the trickle down effect is for your sales team, if you as the leader in content production, one of the trickle downs is your sales team doesn't have to like think about what to say. Like, you are giving them something and they just have to kind of like expound on it and tweak it a little bit and add their spin on it. And that has been for me insanely helpful. Like, we have stuff that goes out of the company page and I'm like, oh, that's really good. I wish I would have thought about saying that, but now I don't have to think about saying it because the marketing department did. And if it was just me, this is what would come to mind. Like, just a big white nothing block. It would just be a big nothing blank slate. So sales team is a great resource for getting ideas that are actually literally from your target audience. And they'll benefit from you taking that information and doing something about it and then giving it to them will make your marketing efforts go way farther. So that's my little
100%
spin on that. Mm-hmm.
Also, I should mention too, that what I was showing you on Google to come up with different ideas, you can also do that on all of the social platforms, by the way, right? Just use the search bar in Twitter. Actually, Twitter's a great resource for content as well. Is if you just search a hashtag or you search just some keywords and see the content that people are interested in, what's getting comments, what's getting a following, so on and so forth, it usually will translate really well back over to LinkedIn.
All right, we've got a couple more minutes of panelist discussion before we go into open Q&A. And then Dave, you'll be first on that. Shireen, you'll be second. So be prepared. Any other panelists want to chime in? Mike, you've been so quiet.
Judy, you wanted to chime in.
I have a
too.
question for Monty, a legitimate question. So a year ago, I did a post on Costa Rica stuff.
Mhm.
What things cost here, and so it's a year-old post now. I'm down here again. You made me think I should refresh that for 2022 and supercharge it up some more. Not make a new one, but to clean up what's there. Make it a next generation of COVID. A year later sort of thing, right?
Yeah. Totally.
What else would you do? What else would you do with that? Then have me do with that.
In terms of the post itself, or what are you?
So I've changed the post nicely. Okay, it's there. Is it going to ask me to publish again when I go to save?
Oh yeah. So I would make a whole new post, right? I wouldn't reshare that post back.
No. So when I go to save it, is it going to go publish? Is it going to say?
Is it an article, Mike?
Yes, it's an article.
It's an article.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So you're going to update it. And at the top, what I've seen, and I don't know if this is the right way or wrong way, but have you guys seen if someone refreshes an article, like it might be top new features of LinkedIn, they'll say updated in the date. Because otherwise people will think it's the same thing. They'll, oh, it's the same post from last year.
That's a big deal. That's a big deal.
So
So you write updated at the top.
I actually
Updated
wouldn't
trip
update it.
2. I would probably write a new one, Mike, for
I
more
would write a new
SEO.
one.
Take parts of what you already wrote that's still relevant and copy that. But truthfully, I would write a new one because it's going to add to the SEO.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Now,
100%.
That's the easiest thing to do.
Just to chip into that too, I'd write a new one, but I'd also make a post about it.
Yeah.
And in fact, I would probably do at least once a week a post from Costa Rica, sharing images or videos.
Yeah, do a carousel,
that
Mike,
you're-
of all the cool things
what's
that you're
going on down
doing.
there.
Yeah. You're muted, Mike.
What do you mean by a carousel, Mary? Can you explain that?
On LinkedIn, the carousel post. So you
The
can like
multi-slide posts.
Yeah,
One I
it's a
just
slide.
shared, Mike, that one I just shared, it's like a square 1080 PDF, and you just swipe it.
Yeah, but you could put all the cool pictures with some captions on them, like first week, here's where we went. Yeah, done working at 3:00. This is the life that, and seriously, like educate people that it can be done, inspire them that if they're thinking that the digital nomad life is, you can still have a successful business. So I think it would be great to do that. And I would want to see that, Mike. I would want to see your adventures. And
Like,
that lets us know who you are.
You could do fun
Remember,
little
only
videos.
25% adventure,
Yeah,
75%
no.
business.
All right.
You could do fun little videos.
not hard and
Maybe right
fast.
in today on a hammock. Look at my backdrop. See ya.
Yeah.
And they could be like short little, 30-second vids, and just say, hey,
Conference call on the hammock.
yeah.
It's right across the street. It's called Each Street, right across the street. And there's power plugs and everything, right?
Mike,
by.
you
Yep.
should be putting this content out every week. Every week there should be a post about Costa Rica.
Okay, I'm convinced. I got it. Look
Get
today,
on it.
Phil.
All right.
Judy Parsons, Judy, you wanted
Yeah.
to get in with a comment. Go ahead.
I did. I thought it was fabulous tips. I absolutely loved them, Monty, and lots of really
you.
great food for thought there. I also do quite a bit of creating of content, and I use something called feedly.com. So I
Yeah.
can, I look at Social Media Examiner and all the different types of magazines, and I find that really useful tool
Yes.
to have a look at. And but I like, like you say, it's about putting your spin on it, which I think is really important. So, but yeah, I just wanted to mention that little tool.
Yeah, you're totally right. Feedly, there's a bunch of resources like that out there too. Even Reddit, there's different channels and stuff on Reddit that can be a great source of inspiration.
LinkedIn will
jump
also
in
on
real
the company page. Yep. Sorry, 1 second. On the company page, there's actually, you can, if you have enough followers, they'll let you kind of plug in some numbers, and they'll say, this is the content on this platform that your audience has been engaging with. So that's an easy inspiration win there too. Go ahead, Vivica.
So what I was just going to build on what Mary and Mike, what we were talking about, and there were some comments here about the using comments and repurposing, comments, because what I find myself doing sometimes is diving deep into threads of comments and repurposing that. But obviously you're not taking that verbatim. You're lifting part of that, and the most interesting part of that, you're adding your own 2 cents, and you're sort of reshaping it, but you're giving acknowledgement to the person that started the comment. I've had some of my best posts repurposed that way, but I've definitely, taken it, repurposed it with my own spin, and acknowledged the people that are involved in contributing to that comment, and created that as a post. But I've got some really good traction that way too.
Awesome.
Mic drop.
All right, let's move into open Q&A just to make sure that we have enough time to get through everything. All right, David O'Neill, 30 seconds or less. You're live.
Oh, come on. Some
25.
simple ads to Google would be to use something like Uber Suggest and Answer the Public. Those are both given a really nice map of different ways to think about the expansion of a particular topic.
So a little tip for you about that that second one. Answer the Public pulls all of those questions directly from the question feed that I just showed you. So it does give you an opportunity to show you more, but after like 1 or 2 searches, you have to pay for it.
Sure, absolutely.
So,
and it's a
cool.
And it's the same thing with Uber Suggest. They have a paid version, they have a free version, etc. I recently saw a webinar on SEO, and one of the things that they had talked about was using knowledge graphs in developing your content. And so that, like, you use something like a Answer the Public, you get an idea, and I use mind maps myself. You get an idea about how to create some kind of hierarchy, or at least related mapping of the way that you think about the topic and the way that others might think about the topic. Last but not least, Judy had mentioned putting together a type of listicle that relates to resources. And that is one of the highest value types of content that you can put out. People will share lists of resources about where to go.
Lists are great, for sure.
Yeah. One other thing, you might also think about looking things up on YouTube.
Yep. Another excellent
source. They can give you a really nice way to think about how to put together your content.
All right, Shireen, you're up. Thanks, David.
Okay, can you hear me first of all?
Yeah.
Having mic issues. Okay, thank you. So first of all, I just want to give a shout out. I think this has been great. And I thank you to Monty for the validation. We do things, but sometimes we don't think that what we're doing is great, but you just validated a lot of stuff and
good.
A lot of good nuggets. So I appreciate that. But I do want to go back, and I think it was your first slide that I think was probably the impact one for me about, I think it's your niche. So I can't really remember what exactly it said, but I thought it was a powerful slide.
Just stick with what you know.
Stick with what you know, right? So when I think about what I'm really trying to do on LinkedIn to generate, and first of all, show my expertise, let them know that what I do, which is around management, planning, and strategy, that my conversations are around that, right? So I don't do a whole lot of personal stuff, though I try to personalize my comments and so that it looks like I'm a human being and not just somebody that's just such a stickler. And so I want to merge that with the hashtags, because when I think about the hashtags and finding relevant content around that, you know what I'm saying? So I guess I don't even know really what my main question is, but my goal is to show my expertise in these very specific hashtags, which I think my value is relevant. So are people really, and so one of my other questions will your content get lost if there's 1 million people or over 1 million people with that going after that hashtag and not something smaller?
Yeah, great question. The answer is no. Okay. Because the way the feed works is based on time. So,
based on time, what does that mean?
Yeah. So, it's when you post at 7, Anybody else that uses that hashtag, if they're posting at 7, it's just like boom, 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 right?
Mm.
So the feed is timed and based on when you post.
Okay.
So, it's just like any content, really. If you go and you search out a hashtag, you're going to see what's there at that time, right? So it really doesn't matter whether there's 1,000 people following a hashtag or 1 million in that sense. It just goes on the time of that feed. Now, if you're going to scroll through that feed, but you would much rather have the opportunity for 1 million people to see that post at that given time than potentially 1,000, right?
Okay.
So it's a numbers game, if you would, based on, and that's why, whether it's 3 or 5, I don't think that it really matters. If you're just putting your hashtags that are there, you have a greater chance of seeing it based on how many people are following that feed.
Okay. Makes sense. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Shireen.
Oh, and you make a great point, by the way, which is that I wanted to touch on, that your comments are content.
Mm-hmm.
And people miss that a lot. So if you're going out there and you're just posting, hey, thanks for the share, or great post, something like that, that's going to provide no value to you. If you follow your niche and you go and you're commenting on people's posts that are in your industry and that are like what you're doing, and you add value to that post through your comment, a lot of people are going to see that, right? Because it shows up in their feed, and it also shows up in your feed, by the way, to your network. So comments are absolutely part of your content strategy.
I want to echo that, because I just really started. Now, when I do comments, I really try to go deep, right? Because I want to add value. But I hadn't been doing that for a while, but I just kicked it off at the beginning of this week to really comment on things that I believe I can add value. And the result was, and I can see when I've added value, because somebody wants to connect with me right away.
Absolutely.
And this one guy, he just like, that was just an awesome perspective, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my goal is to shift people's perspectives on certain things that are said. And so I do appreciate that. But that's the thing, when I think about the hashtag, it's really trying to find something that I can really add value to, because sometimes I don't see it. Today I was like, okay, it's not happening, right? But I do want to say that, yeah, I see that. And now I'm using what I think Aldiko talked about, or somebody mentioned about taking that post, which I love the feature, that comment, and now posting it as a post so other people can see it. I thought it was just great. And so if I'm adding value, somebody got the value, that I'm now going to repost that and share that post.
It's great. So it's a great way to do it.
Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Anyone else want to be brave enough to jump on the mic? If not, we'll go through some of the questions that have been in the chat. This is your chance to overcome the greatest fear of your life.
I want to add on to that. There's a recent
Doug,
post.
you have to raise your hand, Doug. I'm just kidding. Go ahead. I'm just messing with you.
How about both?
You're good. I'm sorry. I just
palms
gotta
up.
keep it spicy. Go ahead.
Yeah, no problem. No, I just want to add to that. I mean, it's rare that in my feed there was an industry post from a equipment manufacturer or a manufacturer of containers. And they were really broad about, hey, we really need to recycle containers. But that was it. And I was in the industry and I added on, well, not only do you need to recycle containers, but here are the parameters in which to do it. And I added that piece to it. And I got a few comments, and I'll use it as a repost just to, provide some subject matter expertise on that, and hopefully get some additional traction through connections, in the sustainability area. But I think it's really important, if you do see something that's in your wheelhouse and you can add to that conversation and enrichen it, I think it's a wonderful way to let the comments build up and then repost that into your feed to everyone to gain some traction and build new connections.
Right.
All right, let's do a couple of questions from the chat. Oh, and actually one quick thing. Lamar, I'm going to do your, is Lamar still on here? I'll do yours first because I got a quick spin on it. So Lamar asks, has anyone come across a tool that'll tell you how many people are searching for a keyword on LinkedIn? So, like Google will tell you the estimated search volume. So I'll kind of chime in here, and if I'm wrong, correct me. I don't believe so. I don't believe that for the actual search. Now, I think that may be a better frame of mind than looking up, because LinkedIn's not a search engine, people who go to Google with intent and do a search. LinkedIn's not really a search engine, even though they're search. I think maybe a better approach would be to do maybe you can do a content search, right? So go to LinkedIn, search, type is content, put your stuff in there, and I'll give you a bunch of stuff in the feed related to that topic. But to my knowledge, there's nothing on LinkedIn that'll give you any kind of search volume. And if there was search volume, people don't really use LinkedIn search for finding content, really. They're more outputting than looking for it. If they're going to use search, it's going to be find a person to sell them something. that's how people use LinkedIn search. So, anyways,
you can search a keyword and that, or a hashtag rather, right? And that hashtag feed will come up. And then you can scroll through that hashtag feed. And if there's posts that have high volume of, views or likes or whatever, it's a good source to come up with some ideas. So in that way, it's kind of a pseudo search engine, if you would, but it's specifically around that hashtag. And Isaac's right. It's not going to do what Google does.
Christine had mentioned, what about the algorithm? And this is maybe a little bit more for sophisticated marketers here, trying to keep in mind that the algorithm is always changing, but when you are getting ideas and trying to plan out your publishing calendar, do you think you should keep that in mind as you're deciding what to say, when to say, different media types, all those kind of factors? Any advice there from Monty and panelists?
My advice is understand your market and understand what you need to produce to nurture people into you, if you would, or through your quote unquote sales funnel, if that's what you're on LinkedIn for. Understanding your market and what they would need to answer the specific questions, be educated, that you create demand around the problem that you solve, establish likability for yourself, create trust, expertise, and authority. Those are all super important things. So as you're thinking through your post strategy, it should really encompass all of that with your target market in mind. And then you can put together a calendar, if you would, or your strategy around it, which would be the best way if you actually want to use your content to create leads or sales.
Next one, any favorite tools for collaborating with your team when you are building out your original media before it goes to publication?
We always use Google Docs to collaborate with teams. There's Monday.com. That's a good collaboration tool. So even Slack, you can even use Slack on stuff like that and build out ideas. So there's all kinds of different things out there.
So there's one called ClickUp, which is very similar to Asana, but ClickUp, you can invite clients in, give them limited views or, participation. You can integrate it with Slack. You can integrate it with a lot of things. But ClickUp is getting very, very robust. They just got 400 million in seed funding. So I expect it to go places. But the point is it integrates very nicely with other tools that you might already have. So you don't have to recreate or bootstrap everything from scratch. But so whatever you're using, if it's Google Docs or spreadsheets or whatever, that all integrates with that too. So you have it at your fingertips. But ClickUp is the one I use.
Check that out. Thanks, Viveka.
Yeah.
Anybody ever look at your competitors' company pages paid ads? So here's the deal with, obviously, LinkedIn ads are stupid expensive. They just are. So if your competitor has an ad running for a while, they're either hemorrhaging cash and don't care, or it works. So check out has anybody ever done that? We've done a little bit, but nothing really heavy duty.
On Facebook, because
On
Facebook will give you all the insights of what people are running on their ads or what they're doing, what ads are working. So that's another, maybe off LinkedIn, but definitely use it for Facebook.
Yeah, that is a great idea. That's actually, yeah, sure. So a lot of companies, they do more on Facebook than LinkedIn.
Yes, because LinkedIn is so expensive.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, that's a great, if you're trying to get ideas for content, that's a great idea. Jump over to that platform. They probably have more history there, more money's been sunken over the years. That's a great idea.
And it's just opened right now. So you can just see all the ads that people are running. So.
Yeah. Got another one here for Monty and panelists. When you're getting ideas for writing and you're kind of thinking about, publishing, this is in the email too, you've got your personal profile, you've got your company page, you've got all those things. Should you have a different approach or mentality or any guiding values when you're deciding, when you have your idea and it's going to go to publication, any guiding values on differences in the final product, if it's going to go on the company page versus just your personal profile?
Yeah, I do. On your company page, that all can be company centric, if you would. And it can be very niche oriented to what you do and the problem that you solve there. With one caveat on company pages, the thing that most companies make the mistake with is taking all of their website content and just dumping it onto their company page. It's unengaging. Nobody cares. Don't do it. Use your company page almost like it's a personal profile. Create content designed specifically for engagement. That doesn't necessarily mean that people will engage. But the secret to it is you have to comment as yourself on the post, not as the company. Okay, because then your comment will be shared in your network. And that's what you're trying to do with your sales team too. If you do have a sales team, is you want them to be able to interact with that post specifically and then be able to use it for their own idea maybe. So make it engaging, keep that hook in mind, right? And get people drawn into it. And if they see that you are engaging personally, you're going to have a much higher chance of getting people to engage there.
Awesome. All right. Hey, we're on the hour. Let's be respectful of everyone's time. So there were a couple of questions in the chat we didn't get into. Sorry. Next week, we are going to be talking about making the most of 100 invites per week. So that should be a good one. Monty, thank you very much for sharing. I really appreciate your time putting everything together.
My
All
pleasure.
you panelists, same to you. Thank you so much for your time and bringing your expertise to the table, and everybody that joined live. Welcome. See you next week, and good to have you here. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Great to see you.
Bye, everyone.